Let me ask you something nobody ever asks out loud. When's the last time you actually told the truth about how you were doing? Not the I'm fine version. Not the things are getting better version. The real version. Because here's what I've noticed. And maybe you've noticed it too. Most people are not okay. They're functioning. They're showing up. They're posting pictures and laughing at dinner and answering emails on time. But underneath all of that, there's something quiet and heavy sitting right in the middle of their chest. And the painful part isn't the wound itself. The painful part is this silence around it. Because somewhere along the way, most of us learned that emotional pain is something to be managed, suppressed, outgrown, or at the very least, hidden from the people around us. We were never really taught how to heal. Now, I'm not here to give you a 5-step wellness plan. I'm not here to talk about self-care routines or productivity hacks for a better mindset. I want to talk about something older than that. Something that was said 2,000 years ago. Not in a lecture hall, not in a palace, not by someone who had it all figured out, but by a man who sat with the broken, the grieving, the forgotten, and the ashamed. And what he said changed everything. These are 7 lessons from Jesus about healing emotional pain. Not religion, not rules, just truth. The kind that reaches past your mind and straight into the part of you that's been quietly hurting for a long time. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Face the pain. There's a version of strength that looks like this. You get hurt. You absorb it. You don't talk about it. You keep going. And for a while, it works. You get through the day. You function. You survive. But here's what no one tells you about pain that you refuse to face. It doesn't go away. It waits. It waits in the way you suddenly get angry at small things. It waits in the way you can't sleep even when you're exhausted. It waits in the way a song comes on the radio, and without warning, you're somewhere else entirely, feeling something you thought you were over. Pain that's buried doesn't disappear. It just goes underground. And it keeps shaping you from there. Jesus knew this. And what he modeled wasn't stoic endurance. It was something far braver. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before everything, he didn't perform peace. He didn't stand tall and say, "I've got this." He knelt on the ground and said, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." That's not weakness. That's the most honest sentence ever spoken in prayer. He faced it fully, completely, without pretending. And here's the invitation I think he's extending to all of us. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. Not with God. Not with yourself. The first step toward healing isn't having the right words. It's having the honesty to say, "This is real. This is heavy. And I'm not okay yet." That's not giving up. That's the beginning. Lesson 2. Don't hide it. He wants you to think about someone you know. Maybe it's a co-worker, a friend, a family member who always seems fine. No complaints. No bad days. Always composed. Now I want you to consider the possibility that some of the most composed people you know are carrying the heaviest things. Because that's what hiding does. It makes the pain invisible to everyone, including, after a while, to yourself. We hide because vulnerability feels dangerous. We hide because we don't want to be a burden. We hide because we've opened up before, and it didn't go well. And so we get very, very good at wearing the mask. But Jesus said something remarkable about hiddenness. In Luke 8, he asked a crowd, "Who is it that touched me?" In a sea of people pressing against him, he stopped. He noticed. He turned toward the one who reached out in secret. The woman who touched the hem of his garment had been suffering for 12 years. 12 years of hiding. 12 years of shame. She didn't even ask. She just reached, and he found her. I think that's the picture of what faith looks like when we stop hiding. You don't have to have the perfect prayer. You don't have to explain everything. You just have to reach, honestly, desperately, without a mask. Because the light doesn't force its way into locked rooms. But the moment you crack the door, even just a little, something begins to shift. Don't hide what's breaking you. It's the hidden things that stay unhealed the longest. Lesson 3. Let yourself feel Jesus wept. 2 words. The shortest verse in the Bible. And yet, I think it might be the most important thing recorded in all of Scripture for those of us who've been taught that strong people don't cry. Here's the context. Lazarus, one of Jesus' closest friends, had died. Jesus knew he was about to raise him from the dead. He knew the ending was good. And he still wept. Not because he didn't have hope, but because grief is not a lack of faith. Grief is love with nowhere to go. And Jesus honored it. There's a lie a lot of us have believed, often silently, often unconsciously. I don't have the right to feel this much. Maybe because someone once told you that others have it worse. Maybe because you've compared your pain to someone else's and decided yours doesn't qualify. Maybe because you're the strong one in the family, and the strong one isn't allowed to fall apart. But here's what I've come to believe. Your pain doesn't need to earn its right to exist. What you feel is real, and real things deserve to be felt fully, honestly, without apology. Emotions are not your enemy. They're not weakness. They're information. They're telling you something about what you've lost, what you love, what you need. Don't silence them. Don't rush past them. Let yourself feel, because pain that's fully felt is pain that's finally moving toward the exit. Lesson 4. Seek peace. Here's a question worth sitting with. When's the last time you felt genuinely at peace? Not the absence of problems, not a moment when everything was figured out, but actual, deep, settled peace, where the noise inside quieted down and you didn't feel like you were running from something. For a lot of people, that answer is a long time ago, or never, because peace is elusive, and the world tells us it comes from control. Get more done. Plan more carefully. Worry more thoroughly, and maybe you'll finally feel safe. But that's not how peace works. Jesus said something that stopped me in my tracks the first time I really let it land. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. He made a distinction. There's the world's version of peace, which is circumstantial. It shows up when things are good and disappears when they're not. And then there's his version, which is something entirely different. It's the kind of peace that exists in the middle of the storm. It's the kind that doesn't require the problem to be resolved before it arrives. It's the kind that says, I don't know how this ends, but I know I'm not alone in it. Seeking peace isn't passive. It's an active choice every morning, sometimes every hour, to release what you cannot control and trust what you cannot see. It starts with the simple, honest prayer. I can't carry all of this. I need help. That's not defeat. That's the bravest thing you'll say all day. Lesson 5. Forgive slowly. You need to say something clearly before I say anything else about forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean what happened was okay. It does not mean you have to reconcile with someone who hurt you. It does not mean you were wrong to feel what you felt. Because I think that misunderstanding, that distorted definition of forgiveness, has kept more people in pain longer than almost anything else. When forgiveness feels like surrender, people hold onto anger instead. And I get it. Anger feels like armor. It feels like justice. It feels like proof that what happened to you actually mattered. And it did matter. But here's what anger becomes after a certain point. A prison. And you're the one inside it. Jesus, hanging on a cross, in his darkest, most agonizing moment, said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." He didn't say that for their sake. He said it for his own. Because the only thing heavier than the cross he was carrying would have been carrying the cross and carrying hatred. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It's a decision you make. And sometimes a decision you have to make again and again and again. You don't have to forgive all at once. You don't have to feel it to choose it. You just have to be willing to take one step. I'm going to stop letting what they did define who I become. That's where it starts. And slowly, sometimes painfully slowly, it becomes real. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give the person who hurt you. It's the freedom you give back to yourself. Lesson 6. Be patient with healing. Can I be honest about something? Healing is not linear. I know that sounds like something you'd read on a journal page or a motivational post, but I mean it in the most practical, lived-in sense. There will be days when you feel like you've made real progress, and then something small will happen. A smell, a date, a phrase someone says, and you'll be back in the middle of something you thought you were through. And the worst thing you can do in that moment is turn on yourself. Why am I still like this? Why can't I just be better already? What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You're healing. And healing takes the time it takes. In Luke 13, there's a woman who had been bent over, physically unable to stand up straight, for 18 years. And when Jesus saw her, he didn't say, "You should have dealt with this by now." He didn't say, "Have you tried harder?" He said, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." And he placed his hands on her. God is never running out of patience with the pace of your healing. The question is, are you? Because some of the cruelest things ever said to a person who is healing come from inside their own head. So let me say this directly. You are allowed to still be in process. You are allowed to have bad days. You are allowed to not be fully healed yet. The fact that you're still here, still trying, still showing up, still reaching, that is not failure. That is faithfulness. Be as patient with yourself as God is with you. Lesson 7. Trust the process. This is the hardest one. Not because it requires the most action, but because it requires the most surrender. And surrender is terrifying for people who've been hurt. Because you trusted once before. You opened up once before. You believed things would be okay once before. And they weren't. So what does it mean to trust the process? To trust God? When the evidence of your life suggests that things don't always work out, I don't think it means pretending they do. I don't think it means forced optimism. I don't think it means smiling through grief and calling it faith. I think it means something much quieter than that. Isaiah 40:31 says, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." Notice who the promise is for. Not those who have it all together. Not those who have no doubts. Not those who've never questioned. Those who hope, which in the original language means those who wait with expectation. Those who are exhausted. Those who've been waiting a long time. Those who can barely see what's ahead, but choose to keep walking anyway. That's who gets the wings. Trusting the process doesn't mean you can see the whole staircase. It means you trust enough to take one more step, just one, and then another. You don't have to have the full picture. You don't have to understand why things happened the way they did. You just have to be willing to say, "I don't know where this is going, but I'm not walking it alone." And that is enough. 7 lessons, not rules, not formulas, not a quick fix, just truth. The kind that has been sitting quietly in the middle of an ancient text, waiting for the moment you were ready to hear it. Face the pain. Don't hide it. Let yourself feel. Seek peace. Forgive slowly. Be patient with healing. Trust the process. I want to leave you with this. Healing is not going back to who you were before the wound. It's becoming who you were always meant to be, after everything you've been through. And you were never meant to do that alone. Whatever you're carrying right now, whatever silence you've been living in, whatever weight has been sitting on your chest for longer than you want to admit, you don't have to carry it alone tonight. And maybe that's the most important lesson of all. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.